Have you ever wondered what strategies the biggest artists in the world are using that are sort of underneath the surface? Nobody's really talking about the hidden knowledge and the hidden strategies about why they're really successful. And I think it's one of those things that if us as independent artists start to dig and excavate, we start to figure out what exactly the biggest artists are doing, we can start to utilize that for our own business to grow it. Not saying that we're going to be as big as those artists, but we can build ourselves up to a sustainable music business. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the 3 little hidden forces that I believe the biggest artists in the world are using to help grow their music business, and so you can utilize it for yours. Let's dive into it. The very first force, the hidden piece of knowledge that a lot of the biggest artists in the world are utilizing that the smallest artists are not, is psychology. I know, right? We have to look at human psychology as a tool. I know some people may not like, I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be a lot of people who are not going to like the direction that this video is going to go in. But guess what? It's the reality. It's what everyone has used and will be using, whether they choose to use it consciously or use it unconsciously. Because the human brain will, these things will happen to the brain regardless if you have intent with your marketing or you don't have intent with your marketing. I want you to think about that. When it comes to, let's say, building an authentic brand, right? You have to understand that you have a brand right now. You just either have a brand that you've constructed and you are intentfully putting forward to convey a certain message, or you're having a brand that's assigned to you by everyone that's watching, right? Because if you don't give them a brand, they will assign you one. And most of the time it will not be the brand that you want. I'm just letting you know that right there. If you let other people pick it, you're probably not going to like the pick. So what we have to realize is that psychology is a tool to be used in our favor to help us in many aspects of our career. So think about it. What actually drives fans to want to follow, love, and support an artist, right? It has everything to do with emotions and psychology, right? There's a certain connection that fans have to artists. People have talked about it. It's sort of a parasocial relationship where you guys are getting benefits from each other, but you don't really know each other. I know that's not the exact definition of a parasocial relationship, but it's this strange relationship that exists between fan and artist where it's like an artist can't really exist at the scale the fan would like them to exist if there is not an underlying business to support it, right? Because otherwise that artist would never really grow past a certain point. And most fans of these big artists would have liked them to grow past that certain point. Like Ed Sheeran or whoever it is, right? That's like billions of fans. I guarantee if you talk to any one of those fans, you're like, yeah, if they were a niche band, that would suck because there's so many people that love this music that are not hearing it, right? And that's just an objective thing. I don't particularly like love Ed Sheeran's music. I don't hate it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to be objective about this. You have to look at these things without the emotion. Like, for instance, when I bring up Taylor Swift, there's so many people that run to the comments like, you can't say Taylor Swift because she has a marketing team and she has all this stuff and she didn't do anything. I'm like, you have missed the point. Because the point of why we observe people like Taylor Swift is not because we're like, I have daddy's money and I'm just going to do that. No, we look at that because we look at her fans and we look at how they behave. Like, look at how Taylor Swift fans behave. I know a lot of people, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you might get mad at me for saying this, but if you're not, you might understand this. A lot of people who are not fans of Taylor Swift look at Taylor Swift fans and are like, goodness, they're a little overbearing with their love for Taylor Swift. It's a little much, right? But you have to look at this. What is she doing, or her team doing? When I say her, I'm referring to her and her team. What is she doing that is causing this reaction from people? Because let's be frank, the music isn't particularly spectacular. It's got hooks, it's got simple lyrics, easy to follow along beats, and that makes an objectively good song a lot of the time. So I get why they're like, that's a good song, but I don't know. To me, it's not like from a pop music standpoint that it's groundbreaking in any sense. So what happened? There's an emotional, psychological connection between Taylor Swift fans and Taylor that sort of defies logic. It's a weird trait of humans where we like to have our little tribe, our little community, right? And so fundamentally, what we need to do as artists is figure out how to work with those forces as opposed to working against it. For example, human psychology, we like to be social. We're wired to be social, even for you introverts, which I am, or I'm kind of 50-50 if you look at my like psychology test or whatever. But if you look at that, everyone needs a degree of social interaction, right? So you look at this and you have to look at, okay, the fans have a social wiring, so let's create a community. A lot of people have not named their community. And sometimes it's hard, right? Like if I look in the metal domain, I've always found this one kind of weird, but Slipknot has a name for their fan base, and they call them maggots. Not a particularly flattering title to call your fan base, but I mean, to each their own. In the hard rock sphere, there's a band who I'm friends with called Saul, and they called their fan base Equals, because they have a song called Rise as Equals. And so they're like, hello, all the equals out here tonight, and kind of showing that like we're equal to the fans, everyone's equal. It's a really cool message, right? And they've leveraged that to call their community Equals. These are the type of things that are working with human psychology to create a brand, and it's something that attracts people to you, right? If people feel a certain way around you and the community that you create, they will want to be in that community more often. If they come to one of your shows and the environment that they get is welcoming and loving and it's fun and there's all this kind of stuff and there's kind of a culture around it that's not like gatekeepy but like welcoming, I guarantee you that people are going to be like, wow, I just want to be here. I want to have a shirt and I want to kind of wear the uniform. And that's what people do. People go and experience their favorite artists. They have this amazing experience. I want you to think about going to your favorite concert you've ever gone to and the amazing emotions that you have as a musician seeing your favorite artist, right? And that connection, that overall like dopamine overload that you get, like, you know, you get soaked in serotonin over here. Sorry, I'm goofy. You guys just have to deal. You guys know. The subscribers know. So you understand that there's this crazy emotional connection from this social experience, right? So we have to look at human psychology as something to work for us, right? That comes down to even when we're talking about sales and when we're talking about marketing. And that's where artists, for some reason, they get kind of weird about it because they've seen how other people have misused this. And then they're like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, I agree. Don't do it that way. Do it an ethical way. Don't lie to people. It's very simple. Don't lie to people and you'll probably be all right. Telling the truth is always the best policy. So like a lot of people look at, wow, I can psychologically kind of, for lack of a better phrase, manipulate or persuade my audience. I have that power. And it's like, yeah, you do. In fact, your songs have that power. I don't talk about this a lot, but your songs have a very deep emotional, psychological impact. I think it was Jimi Hendrix. I think he has a quote that talks about like, whenever you're singing, when someone's listening to a song, they're basically at the height of suggestibility. And when you're singing, you're basically singing right into their subconscious. And that's an extreme power with Spider-Man, as always says, with great power comes great responsibility. So as an artist, we have to look at the fact that we have a psychological influence over our fans with great power. Right? Or with great responsibility, right? Both of those things, because it's like, wow, if I do this right, I can actually have influence on people. And some people feel uncomfortable with the fact that they can have influence on people. And the fact of the matter is you have influence on people whether you, like I said earlier, whether you're consciously trying to or whether you're unconsciously trying to. And I'm just going to tell you now, trying to rely on these situations where, yeah, I'm just going to wing it and it's just all going to work out. Most of the time, that doesn't work out. The times that it does work out are the exception, not the rule, right? But if you can actually consciously go, I'm gonna set up my business in a way that will lead people psychologically to the decisions I want them to make. So for example, let me give you an example, because some people are like, well, how would you apply that? Think about your website. Most people's websites have an about section. Like a whole other tab they can go to, that's the about section. And some people's websites, they have sections where you can go check out photos and videos, and it's all these different tabs that people can go to. From a psychological perspective, that is just causing confusion, right? Because there's no real definitive place you have to be when you're on most of these generic websites for musicians. There's no spot you're supposed to be at. So people just kind of roam confusingly through the website until they're done, and then they just leave the website. And sometimes people take the actions you want them to take, but most of the time they don't. Because websites are like glorified brochures most of the time. It's not good. So what you need to do with your website, what I would recommend, is design it in such a way where every single button on the home page, everything they could possibly click on, needs to take them to a destination that is going to serve your business. Okay? What does that mean? Every single click on that website needs to take them to an opt-in page where they can join your email list or your text list. Every single one of those clicks needs to take them to a merch store where they can buy some merchandise. Every single one of those clicks needs to have, I'm saying every single one of them needs to have the ability to have what I'm talking about. I know that was kind of confusing the way I stated it there. But those buttons need to be able to drive them to the fan club, drive them to your Spotify. And honestly, like, I don't even recommend driving them to your social media. The goal of social media is to get them to a place where they're right there on the homepage of the website. So if we give them a spot to go back to social media, we're like taking them back a step in the funnel. That doesn't make any sense. From a psychological perspective, it just adds confusion, and then they'll never follow through with the desired actions we want them to take. So what are the desired actions we want them to take? Sign up for the email list, right? Stream our music. We want them to subscribe to our fan clubs. We want them to buy our merchandise. We want them to buy any kind of special offers that we're putting out there, whether you're a musician who offers like tab books or whatever it is, right? We want to put forth our business in such a way that is compelling to them psychologically, okay? So sometimes that has to do with colors. There's a great educator out there named Megan Gersh, and she talks about color psychology for branding. I really recommend checking her out and checking her page and seeing all the different information she has about color psychology. Very, very interesting stuff, talking about if you want people to feel a certain emotion, the colors you use will have an impact on that. For example, green means go psychologically, red means stop psychologically, yellow means pay attention, right? It's like, look here. That's like why things are highlighted in yellow. So it's like a thing that's I need to look at because it's highlighted. There's articles do that, for example. So there's little subtle things that you can do psychologically on, for example, your website that can make it to where every single action that they take is moving them deeper into the funnel in some capacity, even if it is just streaming your music, right? So that's one. I could keep going for like, by the way, I do have, I have so much material that I've created over the years about this kind of stuff. I could go talking about this for literal days because I have before. So we're going to stop there. But the main thing I want you to understand about psychology is that it's going to exist whether we choose to exert influence over it or not, right? So like from a branding perspective, people will assign a brand to you, or you can present yourself with the brand you'd like to have. You can hope people take the desired actions in their, normal day-to-day state of mind and just hope the momentum they've got in life goes your way. Or you can set your emails, you can set your website and your landing pages up in a certain way that it curates a certain desired action, right? Okay, let's move on to point number 2. The other piece of forbidden knowledge that artists are not supposed to dive into because you're not supposed to talk about that. Much like psychology, business has become very taboo in the music business. People don't like to talk about the fact that you have to make money from your music. I'm going to say that again. You have to make money from your music. And some of y'all are like, dude, you're preaching to the choir. I totally get it. Some of y'all, though, are feeling a little timid. I know. I've talked to y'all before. We've hopped on calls before. I've talked to you guys where it's like, I just feel weird about selling things, and I just don't want to just be like a t-shirt salesman. It's like, whoa. Hold up. Just because music has changed, the music business has changed in such a way that music, physical media, is no longer the core product, does not mean that we're still not musicians. By you creating the art, you are by definition a musician. Like, that will never change just because of what you sell. So that needs to be addressed first and foremost. But a lot of artists were kept from this knowledge and programmed to think that it was bad, in my opinion, because what happens when managers and labels no longer have a monopoly on the information that helps artists manage their business, grow their business, get paid, oh, well, then artists will have no need for them. And that's exactly right. So you can attribute a lot of the reason, if you have any hesitation to business, I guarantee you it's either from bad past experiences that you would not like to duplicate on your fans, which is great. Good for you, right? That's a great thing. But there's also some cultural programming too that has been designed for us to think. I have a whole video about this, by the way, that I talk in depth about it. But culture has sort of programmed us to think that, business is bad. In fact, I'm just going to say this, and some of y'all ain't going to like it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway because it needs to be said, because it's the truth. People are out there selling books about why you can't make it in America. And even worse, why certain races can't make it in America. Oh, did I say that? Ooh, I did. I did say that. There are people out there, think about this again, I'm going to say it slow, making money teaching people why they can't make money. Does anybody see a contradiction here? I'm just saying. So for people to pretend like there's no cultural programming designed to tell people you can't advance, especially young people, you can't advance, you'll never get it, it's all a corrupt system and blah, 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 blah. But apparently I'm using the corrupt system to feed you this information, right? So they're contradicting themselves. Is it a corrupt system or is it not? Right? And really it's not that black and white. There's gray areas because it ain't a perfect system, and I'm not getting political. I'm just trying to show you guys that culture has demonized the pursuit of knowledge of business to such an extent that people think that to dive into it is to somehow like condone evil or something like that. And I'm here to tell you that that's a load of malarkey, to put it nicely. I'm going to be very nice today, considering, I'm probably, touching on some feelers for some people. I need people to understand that you can have success in this. And when I say success, I'm sort of speaking from what I'm perceiving as success. So let me define that for you. I define success as what every single artist out there defines is the level of income they would like to achieve that they can live on. Everything above that is a blessing. That's the way I view the music business and success. Okay, just so we're clear. I view it as, here's my bills. Here's all I have to pay for to live comfortably. Music here, right? This is what I think every single artist out there would agree is success to a certain extent, right? Do we want more than that? 90% of the time, yeah. Yeah, we probably want a little bit more than that, right? We want to live comfortably and a little bit more. But I guarantee if we all went to our graves just at this level where the music allowed us to live comfortably, we would have said, dude, I was a success. How many people can say that they just lived off their music? So a lot of people think that success has to be, I'm a billionaire. No. Success could be $50,000 a year on your music. Success could be $80,000 a year on your music. Maybe $100. Depends on where you live, right? So let's just put it that way, right? Not going to go back into politics, I promise, guys. But the whole idea is you all out there know what level of success you need to meet so that you can live comfortably off your music, right? And so we can all agree that to get to that level, you have to have a business. You have to have a set of systems that are in play, in repeat, at all times, growing and optimizing so that you can get to that point. And guess what? Sometimes when it starts out, it's tough pushing the ball up the hill. I remember like the first 5 to 8 years, more like 6. First 6 years of my pursuit in the music business was just like getting punched in the face over and over and over and over again. Like anytime we get any modicum of momentum, something bad would happen. I'd build up a band, things were going good, and then 2 members would leave because of political reasons, right? And then all of a sudden we get a new band, and then things start to build up, and then the singer passes away. And it's like things would happen, and then we're building up again with the new band, and then, pandemic hits. And it just like, but I'll tell you right now, we were at a point by the time the pandemic hit, I'm just kind of pointing out how life does that in general. But by the time the pandemic hit, we had sort of built these systems up to where it's like, okay, now we've got some stability. And so even if we have like an off year where we don't tour very much, we're going to be fine. So the point of this is we need to look at a couple key aspects, okay? We need to look at what are the offers and products slash services, maybe, depending on what your skill set is, that you're going to offer your fan base, okay? What are you going to offer them? Okay, an offer is short for offering, right? And an offering is kind of like you can take it or you can leave it. Like it's just an offering that you can, it's just an opportunity to get something, right? So you can mix and match things. So for example, people are like, I need people to buy my t-shirt. I need people to buy my mug. I need people to buy my hat. Okay, let me ask you a question. If you're not selling a lot of those individual items, would they sell better if you bundled them? Just a thought. What if you did a hat and a t-shirt? Would that be a more attractive offering for your fan base? And if you priced it in a way that it wasn't just literally taking the sums of both of those and adding them together, but they got some kind of discount for doing it, now doesn't it seem like a little bit better of an offer? And then what if you threw in the mug for free, or not for free, but like for an extreme discount because you're getting this big bundle put together where now someone's willing to spend $40, $50 more where they wouldn't be willing to spend $15 on the single item. Why? Because you're increasing the value, but you're making the price lower than the value. And with retail items, this game is really hard, okay? So like if I say, I'm gonna get a shirt, a beanie, and a pair of pants, right? All those things have kind of like set price points unless you're going to start trying to play the luxury game, which as independent artists, we're probably not going to play. I know some people have aspirations to do that in the future, but when you're starting out, nobody's going to pay luxury prices for independent artist material, no matter how much we market it and frame it as luxury. Just going to say that out there for anybody. But we can think about what are some things that are not necessarily so tied down to retail sales. Let's take a look at some other things. I want to look at services. Okay, services. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you're an artist or musician out there and you're really good at mixing. That's a skill set that is very valuable and you can get paid for that. Let's say you're a really good music teacher. That's a valuable skill set that you can get paid for. You know, let's say you're actually, this is going to be a funny one. Let's say you're great with your voice, but you're great with it in such a way that you can do like impressions in different voices. You know, voice acting is actually a funny enough. I know a musician who is also a voice actor. Her name's Maggie, and she absolutely is killing it. And it just cracks me up how she has not only found out a way to utilize that skill set to monetize, but she also teaches others how to do it because she's gotten so freaking good at it. You know what I'm saying? Like she's out there murdering it. So shout out to Maggie. But what we need to understand is we need to have offerings that are a little bit more than just the sum of products. So let's do a little combination here. So in one example, we have something where the value is kind of subjective. It's perceived, right? Like a service, some people may be willing to pay $100 for a guitar lesson with somebody, but for another person, they may be willing to pay $200 or $500 for that guitar lesson, depending on who they're getting the guitar lesson from and the perceived connection that exists between the fan and the artist, right? So you can have that kind of subjective price realm, and then the retail stuff is really pretty fixed. Like if you sell a shirt for $35, you're on the border of pushing it. Like $30 is basically what a t-shirt should sell for. That's pretty much the standard price of like a merch table shirt online, $30. That's a safe spot, right? But if you sell it at 35, now all of a sudden the market starts to go, I don't know, it's starting to get, and then if you sell it for 40, people are like, okay, that's kind of an expensive shirt. What am I getting other than a black t-shirt with a design on it? You know, and so, you know what I'm saying? Like people start to question now the price point. So retail stuff is pretty fixed. So you kind of have to offer them at a discount, less than what you would have made if they paid full price. So you are taking some of your profit out, but as a goodwill sense to your fan. You're doing that as a gesture of like, this is why this is an offer, right? Otherwise you would just buy it together because it's the same price. There's no difference. So you've got the retail and the intangible, right? Tangible, intangible, but you can mix these things together, and that is where we can start to have a little bit of success here. And this is what artists can do sometimes, is sometimes they will take an objective or a tangible thing that has like a certain preset value and mix it with intangibles so that now the offer is more unique. It's more of a unique offering, and now the price can be subjectively determined. And that's kind of what we're hoping for, is a subjectively determined price. We don't ever want the market to determine price for us. If we can stay ahead of that and always determine our own price, that will ultimately be better. Ultimately, though, if you charge too much, you might repel people away. Like, for example, we have an offering that is just a pure retail one. It's like $40, $45, and it's a merch bundle, and it sells really, really well. But we tried selling it for $50, didn't sell as much. So we're like, okay, got to back it down, right? So you can kind of test where these things will sell for. But let's say you took like a t-shirt, and then you took some behind the scenes in the studio clips, put it with the t-shirt, and then maybe you have some unreleased demos thrown with it, and then maybe like a track by track commentary for the new EP, right? Like, I'm just throwing this random offer together out of, just pulling it out of nowhere. But you could see how there's tangible elements to it and there's intangible elements to it. So what is the value of that offer? Well, if someone doesn't like your music and they don't really care about the behind the scenes of the stuff, the value of that stuff is basically zero, right? But if you can build up a connection with your fans, like using the psychology that we were talking about, and then I'm going to mention in the third one, you have to understand that you are trying to figure out what exactly are the offers and products that you can put forward to basically take people from fan to customer, right? That's why I call it the forbidden knowledge, because it's like, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to call fans customers. I understand it makes people uncomfortable, but that's the reality of the situation. You're a business. Someone is buying stuff from you. They are, by definition, a customer. But I notice some people will be like, yeah, my fans. And I'm like, it's okay. No one's going to come arrest you for calling fans customers, because they're happy customers. They're people that want to buy from you. I've literally had fans. I have a fan named Janie. She reached out to me and was like, Dax, I know that like when people say, how do you support us? It's like, go stream our music and join the email list and do this. But she's like, how can I support you more? Some fans literally just want to figure out how to support you more. And if you have offers to give, they're like, oh, cool, I can do that, right? Or I can do that, whatever your offers happen to be. But you have to have a systematic way of taking someone from completely cold, never heard of you, to becoming a fan, and not only becoming a fan of the music and listening on Spotify, following you on the social media aspect of it, but turning them into a customer as well. And some people don't like to talk about it because they're like, you're turning fans into zeros and ones. It's like, no, not at all. You can understand that a business is built on relationships. People say businesses are built on transactions, and in some kind of technical sense they are, but the transactions would never exist without the relationship. So the most powerful thing that you have in your business as an artist is the relationship that you have with your fans. That will supersede everything. Because if you are one of those artists that look at your fan base as a way to extract money, then they will feel that, and they will not like it. But if you look at your fans as people who you want to provide value to and come up with things they want so that you can have the things you want, aka a sustainable music business, then you're going to work towards creating offers that make sense, and you're going to build your house on stone as opposed to sand, right? Which is the most important thing when it comes to being an artist in the music business. This is a business, but just because it's a business and this industry has the worst freaking reputation in the world doesn't mean we have to operate the way it's always been. We can operate our business from a perspective of being fan-centric. I have a whole video that talks about this, where it's diving into having a fan-centric business model, because that's ultimately the way to go. And if you can think about like, okay, my business is built upon the value exchanges between fans and artists. I need to come up with offers that provide so much value to my fans that it would make no sense for them not to give me money. That's the bluntest I can possibly put it, okay? Now, the final step number 3. To me, it takes step 1 and it takes step 2 and it merges it into an approach in business and marketing. And it's gotten a bad name over the years because, again, of how certain people have chosen to utilize it, like with anything. Buy one, get one free has been manipulated, guys. Does that mean we can't do buy one, get one free? Okay, anyway, direct response marketing and direct response as a philosophy. Now, some people are just like, Daxter, whoa, who, what? You might as well have been speaking Chinese. I don't know what you're talking about, direct response. Well, I get it. It's okay. Direct response is an approach to marketing, right? I want you to look at two different perspectives. Look at how most huge businesses, including record labels, but I'm going to use other more notable things like Coca-Cola or Domino's or Pizza Hut or whoever, right? The advertisements, by and large, that those brands put out there and have for like 30, 40 years or whatever, have been like pretty mediocre. And when I say mediocre, I'm talking about, I have to go back a little bit, okay. During the 20s, during the advertising boom of the Madison Avenue, is what it was called, right, in New York City. This is where all the ad agencies were at. And during that advertising agency boom, there was an incentive created where ad agencies wanted these brands to spend as much money as humanly possible because they would get paid more. And it didn't necessarily matter how good the product was, or when I say the product, I mean the ads they were delivering to these companies. What mattered is how much could they get the client to spend on the advertisement. So really the ads were presented as a way to sell the corporate heads and executives of these companies to put an ad out more than it was geared towards the psychology of the consumer. Now, there were some ad agencies that did focus on consumer psychology. Now, if you look at a lot of it, you look at like someone like David Ogilvy. He's an old-time marketer that sort of came out of that industry of over excess spending so that they could get more money from their clients and all this kind of stuff. And he said the direct response marketers are the ones who are paving the ways of the future. Why? Because they understand exactly how the game of business works. Now, I'm loosely quoting him there now, but here's the idea. Madison Avenue style marketing, and that's the general marketing for masses of people, millions of people. Think about it. If you're going to put together a piece of advertising for millions of people, it can't offend too many people. So you have to sanitize the ad in such a way that it will not offend masses of people, right? Because for most ad agencies, a successful campaign is one that doesn't, it's not that it's one that performed super well. It's almost like it's one that didn't get as many complaints, right? Because everyone can be offended over everything. So here's what I want you to look at it as. Direct response is basically the idea of screw the general approach where I'm going to try to create this marketing that appeals to millions and millions of people. What I'm going to do is identify a specific customer avatar, and I'm going to learn their psychology, and I'm going to set my business structure up in a way that is in direct concordance with how they respond to my marketing. Right? So what they would do, this is like old-timey stuff. Guys, I'm a nerd. I'm just letting you in on the secrets that build up these industries. So benefit from my nerddom, please. So that way all these books are not for waste. No, but what happens is direct response goes in to a specific, personal type of marketing where most big brand marketing is this generalized marketing. Think of like the polar bear Coca-Cola. That's a good ad in that realm, right? Because everyone kind of can associate it, but now they haven't ran it as much, and so maybe some of the younger folks out there don't have the polar bear Coca-Cola association like they used to. That's okay, things evolve. But what we need to understand is that direct response is targeting a specific group of people, testing messaging to figure out what gets the best response. Now you're starting to see where the name comes from. Is you're going direct to a specific type of person, and you're trying to get a response out of them, and you're creating your marketing and messaging in a way that compels them to take an action. That's really the essence of direct response marketing, is you're creating marketing that causes people to take action. What action? The desired action that you have put forward for them to buy your product or service. That is what direct response marketing is. So I want you to think about it like this. Your music wraps your business, okay? The business is the core, right? The nuclear core that's powering everything, and it's wrapped in your music, okay? Because you could have the greatest core in the planet, but if what's wrapping it isn't sufficient, we're going to have like some kind of explosion here. It's not going to work out well. Everything's going to go to crap in a handbasket. But if we can set up our music business in a way where we've got a solid core, we've got a business that isn't just like, yeah, I've got a merch store. That's not a business. That's like the equivalent of just like doing no marketing and just opening up a t-shirt stand and just being like, I got shirts. Like, good luck, you know. Good luck trying to make that into a business, right? But that's what a lot of artists do. Instead of having a systematic way of driving someone from fan to customer. And that's what direct response marketing is about. So I've done lots of research into like the old school marketing greats like Robert Collier and David Ogilvy towards the end, right? Guys like Dan Kennedy, Gary Halbert, John Carlton, all these kind of copywriters and direct response marketers that were so successful in creating messages that compelled people to, in some of their cases, put mail in an envelope and send it. That's how old school it was back in the day. Some of y'all can't even imagine people putting money in an envelope and sending it off somewhere. It's like, I would never do that. What if the postman opens it up and takes my money? I'd rather just wire transfer it, basically, with Zelle. It's, you know, back in the day, they'd have been like, you could just instantly send money through a phone. Their eyes would explode and gas would come out of their ears and stuff. That's what it would be like. But these people were so great at crafting messages that they were able to compel people to give them, gosh, these people made hundreds of millions of dollars. And so here is my prediction, you can call it, you know, I'll stake my whole career on this. I believe that the future of the music business is going away from the mass marketing from like labels, right? I'm going to try to appeal to every single person in America and be a childhood sweetheart or the next controversial thing in America, whatever. And I'm speaking very American-centric because I'm from America, guys. I'm sorry for all my viewers around the world. I still love you too. But think about it like this. We're not going into the mass marketing. We're going into niche marketing. That's one way you could think about it. Because you're looking at your genre. What's your niche? How am I going to identify those people who are best suited for my music? How do I craft those messages that pull them in? And then how do I set up a business that systematically not only pulls in the right people, but sells them offers they actually want to buy? And then I can turn this, you know, funny enough, business, when it comes down to it, is arithmetic. That's really all it is, y'all. It's arithmetic. For how many people that join here, how many come out this side buying something, right? So an email list is a great way of determining that. For every 100 people that join my email list, how much money comes out the other side? And if the answer is 0, then we have a huge problem. We have to have some offers that are being sold to these people so that that number can definitely not be 0. So hopefully this video has sort of lifted up the hood a little bit. I'm a little bit more blunt in my language today. Sometimes I feel like I do have to kind of not talk so businessy because artists will be like, he said fans are customers, my skin, it's crawling. Like, sometimes I feel like I have to do that, but today I kind of wanted to pull the hood back and show you guys the forbidden knowledge, the stuff you're not supposed to talk about. But every single big artist is either knowingly or unknowingly utilizing what I'm talking about here. Okay, so hopefully now you guys can, as sort of a little call to action here, is I want you guys to look in your business and I want you to look at how you can improve how people react to your marketing and your website and your offers psychologically. You have to be thinking from their perspective, right? Then I want you to actually look at building systems. That's really what business comes down to, is arithmetic and systems, so that you can reliably know this information. Build an email list, build out email sequences, have an offer, do these kind of things to figure out for every person, you know, for every 100 people that joins my email list, how much money do I get? And you'll start to see where the holes are in your music business a little bit clearer. And by putting these two things together, you're fundamentally turning into a direct response marketer for music. And I think this is the way of the future, because most of the industry communicates in such an impersonal way. You know, they They talk to the fans in a general sense, like, hey, everybody, you know, I'm just talking to all the people, hey, everyone out there, instead of, hey, you, how's it going, you? That's what direct response marketers is all about, is saying, hey, you're a person who's thinking about this, and you have these particular things that you'd like to avoid and these particular things that you'd like to have, right? And understanding those psychological aspects of who they're talking to, so that when they communicate, they're not just like rolling the dice and hoping something happens. They're actually putting forth the best effort they can in their business to stack the deck in their favor. So I hope you guys got a lot of value from this video. If you did, if you were surprised by anything, let me hear it in the comments. Also, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, all that kind of good YouTube-y stuff. It really helps out the channel a lot. And if you'd like some one-on-one help implementing stories and storytelling that will help you in your direct response marketing journey as a musician now, then we have a coaching call that you can apply for in the link in the description if that's a good fit for you. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you guys on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.